Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Yeah, Justin, what was happening there? You didn't play our intro video, Justin. Okay, that's fine, Justin. Just, this is your third strike. That's fault. I'm on live now. Hi, welcome to the Perfect Podcast Show. I'm your host, Keith SALTOJANES, and this is the Perfect Podcast Show on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And what a place it is. Just got to start off by saying this is it. This is the final episode of the Perfect Podcast Show. This is the last one of the year. We're coming back more in January. Don't worry. So many people just got so scared. It's okay. This is the last one of the year. I do believe this is the last one of 2023. And what a year it's been. There was all that stuff and things and many other stuff and things. And what a great journey we've been on for the premiere year of the Perfect Podcast Show. My mouth is very dry all of a sudden. I'm getting all choked up. Great times. We had Bob Iger as a guest a couple times, which is a great way to start the show. We had Loud Shirt Larry on, which was a great show. We had a backlot tour of the Universal Studios lot, which is incredible. So many wonderful, exciting things we had this year, and more exciting and wonderful things to come next year, including the phone number where you can call and leave us a message. This is going to happen in 2024. It's going to happen. It's my New Year's resolution. I actually don't believe in New Year's resolutions because, usually you break them. Just have goals and intentions. That's what I do. It's like, this is what I want to do. But a New Year's resolution, March comes. Is it New Year's anymore? No, your resolution's over. Maybe my New Year's goal is to change the logo of the Perfect Podcast Show so it doesn't look like the Perfect Poo-Cast Show. We'll see. That's lower on the list, though. That phone number where everyone can call in is a little bit before that. But before I get ahead of myself and go into the future of 2024, we do have people who have sent in jokes, and I like to read the jokes to start the joke and comedy and laughter at the beginning of each episode. So this one is sent in by Cynthia in Austin, Texas. Thank you so much for sending us this joke, Cynthia. And here's the joke that Cynthia, can I call you Cyn, or is that okay? I'll just call you Cynthia from Austin, Texas. Here's the joke that Cynthia from Austin, Texas sent in. What did the server say to the patron who asked how much and where to leave a tip? Long setup there, Cynthia, but that's okay. We're going to read it again. What did the server say to the patron who asked how much and where to leave a tip? What did the server say to the patron who asked how much and where to leave a tip? A buck and here. A buck and here. Oh, thank you, Cynthia. Oh, fantastic joke, Cynthia from Austin, Texas. Is that what I said before? Austin, Texas, Cynthia? Yes, Cynthia, Austin, Texas. This is absolutely a real person. I didn't just make it up just now. Thank you. A buck and here. That's a great joke, Cynthia. Wow. If you have a joke, feel free to send it in to the podcast. Mailing address is, I'm not going to give that out, but feel free to call and leave a message with a joke from that phone number that will appear at some point. I believe right now this is our first time we're live on my own Facebook. I mean, not Facebook, my own MySpace. Sorry, not MySpace. My own YouTube account, which is exciting. So if you have anything to say and you're on the YouTube, if I'm live there now, feel free to leave a little comment. because this is the perfect podcast show where my goal every episode is to make the most perfect podcast. There's so many podcasts today. I feel like there's 10 more podcasts that are created every single hour, but this one is the most perfect one. There's been no other as perfect as this podcast, because this is the perfect podcast show. And no one can, there's no such thing as another perfect podcast show. This is the one where I try to make the most perfect show, and haven't done it yet. But we're trying, and that's all you can do is try. And that's what I'm all about. Don't wait until you're ready. Just start now. And that's what I'm doing. At episode 11, here we are, and still not perfect, but we're trying. And that is the goal of the show, is to make the perfect podcast show. But of course, shows, where do they get their funding? It costs a lot to run this show. I mean, the lights behind me that are all very real take a lot to run those lights. And the logo designer cost a lot, and the plants behind me, they look dead because they are, but they cost a lot to have dead plants in your room. And these headphones, which are absolutely plugged in, are completely real, cost a lot. So anyways, where do we get all this funding from? This isn't me asking you for money. I'm not starting a Kickstarter to fund the show, but I am saying with this segue that we're going to listen to an ad of where we get our funding. So let's play that ad. Supported by Johnny and Johnny Johnson's perfect mattress collection spot. Stand up, lay down, sit down, whatever you want. It's a mattress.
And we got them. So come and get one. If you're looking for a better night's sleep and a way to lay horizontal, then Johnny and Johnny Johnson's perfect mattress collection spot. Stand up, lay down, sit down. Whatever you want is the place to buy your mattress today. I say today because we are not open at night, which is when you need a mattress. But come in during the day and get that mattress you will use at that time.
To be clear, you will use the mattress at night, but come and see us during the day. The owner would also like to explain how mattresses are meant to be used. So
Johnny and Johnny Johnson, which must have been confusing for two brothers to have the same name growing up, unless they aren't related at all, but just have the same last name.
Anyway, both of those guys want to re-emphasize that with a mattress, you can sit with your legs on the ground vertically or horizontal. You can also lay horizontal, but it should be used for sleep at night, not just a chair.
I'm sorry, this is all part of it. This is all the same ad. This is all the ad. And there's more to it, I see. And the owners, again, possibly brothers, probably not, also want to let it be known that if you stand on the mattress, they're not responsible for you hitting your head on a rotating fan that is over the bed. But the owners do recommend putting a mattress under the fans because you want to stay cool at night. Anyway,
come on down to
Johnny and Johnny Johnson's perfect mattress collection spot.
Stand up, lay down, sit down, whatever you want. It's a mattress. This has been the episode. We'll see you next week.
Woo!
And we are clear.
Hey, that was an incredible show.
Man,
Wow.
I mean, that was perfect. If there was ever like a perfect one,
I can't believe it. How perfect that was! I'm so inspired.
Oh,
what?
We've been recording this whole time.
What? Wait, but I thought we already did the show.
This is live. It's live right now.
Whoa, that's embarrassing.
What? Okay. Okay.
Well, okay, everybody. Well, I guess see you later.
Yes. Welcome back to the Perfect Podcast Show. Thank you, Johnny and Johnson's. Johnny and Johnny Johnson's. Thank you, the mattress store. Thank you for that ad so much. Thank you. And as we just saw there, previously on a recent episode, a few episodes ago, we had a very special guest, Matt Brailey, on the show, trying to make the perfect show, perfect podcast. And then something happened where we thought we recorded the show, but actually we recorded it before we hit record. And then when we hit record, we were just talking, and the whole show was us just talking, and we didn't realize we were doing a podcast. And it was quite embarrassing. As you saw in that clip, it was a very big surprise. So I apologize so much to Matt, and I was like, hey, look, if you want to come back on, I can probably fit you in at some point on the Perfect Podcast Show. You can be a guest. So sorry that happened. And he agreed. He said, sure. And he's here today, and we're going to have him, and we're going to redo the episode we did before. We're just talking about, life and creative endeavors and all sorts of very interesting. We had Bob Iger on that episode to talk about the strike, which is now over. I think it helped end the strike that Bob Iger was there. There's no proof of it because we didn't record the actual episode. But that's okay. We're going to have a redo today with Matt Brailey, and we're officially live now. I know I'm live. It's happening. So we're going to redo this on the Perfect Podcast Show. The Perfect Podcast Show. I said podcast show. The Perfect Podcast Show. So please, everyone, in the Perfect Podcast Show universe, round of applause for my guest today, Matt Brailey.
Well. Looky who is having me back on their show. I guess you must be getting jealous of my show.
I'm glad you're back. Do you say jealous of your show? You have a show?
You were clearly jealous.
I don't
know if you remember.
Were you just wearing 2 pairs of glasses?
I might have been.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't. You have a show? I didn't. That's great. We'll promote your show if you have a little show.
I don't know if you should have heard of it by now. It's the #2 Perfect Podcast Show.
Wait a second.
Not a poo-cast show.
Okay.
Podcast show.
So wait a second.
You said I wasn't good enough to do.
Well, you have the #2 Perfect Podcast Show is what you're saying. You just
coming for you, Keith. I'm coming for you.
You took the name of my show and just added a #2.
I added the #2 because we were destined to rise to #2.
Okay,
we're there. I think we're there.
Mine isn't called the #1. You could have just called yourself the #1 Perfect Podcast Show, but that's okay. You're the #2. And that's I'm gonna say clearly because of where you're living that your show is probably shit because it's #2.
Well, no.
Excuse my language, but
lots of people make that mistake is not talking about poo-poo like your word, like your title almost looks like.
It almost is,
but
it's not.
I have had a couple issues with, various locations. This is all I can afford right now, but
okay.
But it's a pretty good show.
That's great that you started a little show called the #2 Perfect Podcast Show. It feels like you stole the idea of mine. That's great. When are you gonna start doing an episode? Did you even do any episodes yet?
We've already done 3.
Oh,
they're pretty good.
Wow, I have not heard about this at all. I'm sorry. I'm having you on my show, but okay.
I had a feeling that your ego would be so big that you wouldn't want to watch any other podcast. So I actually brought some clips.
Oh, okay. You brought
my episodes
so you brought clips of this #2 Perfect Podcast Show again.
Quotes.
Is that not the name of it?
It's not in quotes. No, it's just the #2 Perfect Podcast Show.
When you name the name of a show, it's not underlined because books are underlined. So it's a show. So I'm putting it in quotes. Your #2 Perfect Podcast Show. That's how you would grammatically do it. So
yeah, and one day when we overtake your show, we're gonna be the #1. We're gonna change the name, and we're gonna be the #1 Perfect Podcast Show.
Well, that's probably not good branding because if people will think you're the #2 podcast show, like is this an official rank? Did like the podcast mayor give you this rank?
It's not there yet, but it's a title that's very hopeful, and we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there, and it's a good show. And mainly it was to prove that I could do it.
Okay,
and you'll see it's a great show.
I do remember saying that like you probably wouldn't be able to host a show, but you have a clip of it. So like if you have proof of you hosting this #2 podcast show,
it's phenomenal. It's gonna be #1 before you know it. Can we play the clip? Is that okay?
Yeah, let's see this clip.
Play the clip. You'll see. You're gonna get ready to get your socks blown off. What's up, everybody? My name is Matt Brailey, and this is the #2 Perfect Podcast. That's right. You might have remembered the #1 podcast when I was a guest and Keith SALTOJANES said that I couldn't do it. Well, look at me now. I'm in the #2 most perfect podcast. Here we are. Oh no! Pretty great. Pretty great. It's a solid show.
Okay, lots to deconstruct here.
There's nothing to deconstruct.
Hold on a second. Were you on the set of Seinfeld?
My original house I may have spent quite a bit of money to make it look like the set of Seinfeld.
Really? You're that big of a Seinfeld fan that you recreated your house?
Huge.
Okay, that's kind of seems like a waste of money, but the other thing,
if I didn't do that, the set for the podcast would have been mind blowing. But I had to have I had to have my Seinfeld and my cereal
yeah, you had a lot of cereal and you spent a lot of money on it, but apparently it wasn't made well because you just gestured and the entire house exploded.
It was made on a budget. I couldn't afford the real, it was still made like a movie set, very thin wood, but
so then the other thing is, I mean, again, there's a lot. One, it exploded and you survived?
I had a little problem with the construction of my house.
Okay, but
there was like a couple of
how did you?
I skimped on some of the renovations, so there was like some very minor structural issues with the house.
I mean, it was a huge explosion that somehow was filmed.
It made those were recorded from the neighbors ring cameras and things.
I'm so sorry.
I
sorry
mean,
to laugh.
It looks worse than it was.
Yeah, I mean, sorry to laugh, but it looks like your house exploded while you were in it, but somehow you survived, which is, I mean, not really perfect. I mean, it's you're lucky that you survived that terrible explosion. And I'm sorry.
I got some scratches.
Okay, well,
I had to go to the store and get a Band-Aid.
You got a Band-Aid. That's good. I'm really sorry your Seinfeld home blew up.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry that you attempted to make a podcast that stole my name and you failed.
No, it did not fail.
You exploded. It blew up.
There's an even better episode 2.
Wait a second.
Which I also have a clip for.
No, wait a second. That was an episode. That whole thing was an episode. That 10 seconds was an episode.
I mean, I had lots planned.
Yeah.
I had lots planned, but because of my very small issue with my house, I had to cut it short. But pretty perfect, couple of seconds, right? Pretty good.
I mean, until it literally exploded. I wouldn't say it was perfect. Yeah, sure. You had a couple good seconds. It might have been
like a small spark. It's not a real explosion. It was just like a small.
There's multiple camera angles that showed your house exploding up, but that's
like a small house fire that led to maybe a spark from the wires.
Yeah. So that was one full episode, but you said you attempted another episode of the number 2 perfect podcast show.
It's an even better episode. You're gonna see. Number 1, we were ranked pretty low, right? But number 2, episode 2, you're gonna see it.
Number 2 of the number 2 podcast, perfect podcast show. Because you're clearly not number 1 if you're trying to be number 1. We're
gonna get there.
Okay, so you have another clip.
I know that what I experienced on your show was definitely perfect, but I'm gonna get there.
So
especially because you told me I couldn't. You told me I couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, so far I think I'm right. But if you have another episode, I'll gladly take
I have another clip.
So we're gonna watch a clip of episode 2 of the number 2 perfect podcast show. Again, this is grammatically how you do it. I'm not trying to be offensive, but we're watching the number 2 perfect podcast show.
No, it's just number 2.
Wait, the title is now just number 2?
It's a number 2. It's just a number 2. It's a big number 2.
So number 2 is the name of your episode of your show now. A big fat stinking number 2.
No. It's the number 2 perfect podcast.
Number 2. Okay,
it's pretty perfect is what it is.
All right. Well then we'll see a clip of this episode 2 of the number 2 perfect podcast show. Stealing my name.
Quotes. But yes,
grammatically there would be quotes. That's grammatically how you say. I said Seinfeld in quotes. I'm just being grammatically correct. The number 2 perfect podcast show. That's the name of yours. All right, so let's see episode 2.
You'll see.
All right.
Double mind blown in this one.
Okay. All right.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of the number 2 most perfect podcast. That's right. Keith SALTOJANES did not think I could do it. He probably couldn't think that I would even get this far to episode 2. Well, I did. I had a little problem with my last house, but don't worry. I got this nice apartment, and it's pretty great. And you know what? And I got a special surprise for you. and especially you, Keith SALTOJANES, if you're watching, because I was able to get an interview with Bob Iger, but not over Zoom like an idiot. I got him here. What is? Oh my God! Not again! Oh! Pretty good episode, right?
So again, oh boy. So again, so you got a smaller apartment that wasn't Seinfeld themed, and that one blew up too.
It was like I had a little less money, so I couldn't afford the best apartment. But yes, I had a small structural issue.
And you survived that explosion as well.
Yes, I did. Well, it was not an explosion. It was a small, very minor structural issue, which I did get another small cut, and I had to go to the store and get another Band-Aid.
Okay, I don't know a store that sells individual Band-Aids as well. Usually have to buy them in a box. So are you buying a box of Band-Aids and throwing them all out except for one?
No. There's a store and I get just one.
Single Band-Aids.
I get a single Band-Aid.
Okay, I haven't. What is this store? Because CVS doesn't do that.
Good. It's like it's a big Band-Aid store, and they assess the size of your cut, and they give you the right Band-Aid for the right cut.
It's a big Band-Aid store, so they give you specifically size Band-Aids. Okay.
Yeah,
that's handy. Yeah, it's
just need a Band-Aid, and you know what? It's no waste. There's no waste. I just get the one Band-Aid for the one cut that I got from my very minor structural issue that my apartment had.
Yeah, it didn't seem like a minor issue because there was a very large explosion from a one-story floor that took down an entire building. But also, I want to get to the fact that not only are you like my show that we're on right now is the Perfect Podcast Show, and your show is the #2 Perfect Podcast Show, which clearly
you're not even saying it right. It's just the number two Perfect Podcast Show. That's my show. It's very
it wasn't in quotes, so grammatically
not quote, no correct. Quotes, and spoken, deep and strong.
Okay,
it's
deep and strong.
Perfect podcast.
Sorry that I'm
good job.
I'm making it sound bad, but I'll do it correctly. Then it has to be in quotes grammatically. So the #2 Perfect Podcast Show. That's how you would say it. So anyway, so not only did you take the name of my show, but you also are now encroaching on my guests. You had Bob Iger on your episode 2.
But not over Zoom. It was different. I had him in person, which is arguably better.
Yeah, except for the fact that he was in person in an apartment that exploded.
He wasn't very happy about that.
Did he go to the Band-Aid store? Or we haven't heard from Bob Iger in a few months.
I offered Band-Aids for the whole, him and his security detail and all that stuff. We all had Band-Aids. No one has heard of Bob Iger since the strike ended. So we were getting worried.
He's okay?
He's doing great. He's doing real great.
Okay, I mean, we don't have any proof of this.
He thought the whole thing was awesome. He and also big fan of the Band-Aid store.
Big Band-Aid.
He offered to come back and try my my third episode, which, by the way,
you had another episode.
I brought a clip because we have a third episode.
How I don't know how you're so again you're taking the name of my show. You're trying to do a perfect, but your episodes are like 10 seconds long, and then you almost die. That's not really perfect. And you tried again, which is like, hey, good for you to keep trying, but I mean, stop while you're ahead.
What are the chances? What are the chances? 3 different places that I live will all have minor structural issues.
Okay, well,
I think you'll be very impressed with where I set up shop.
I'm going to say right now, you had a cheaply built Seinfeld set. Your next apartment was also really cheap. If you're somewhere that's cheaply built, then it's probably going to explode.
Is not cheaply built. No. I assure you that the third place that I went, that I went, is very solidly built. I went to the best constructed building in the United States.
All right, this is a clip from episode 3 of the Perfect Podcast Show. That's the name of the show. I'm just saying it like you wanted me to say it, which is stealing my name because I'm the Perfect Podcast Show. This is what we're on right now, and you made
there's a number 2 in mine because I'm a big number 2. I'm a big number 2 right now, but I'm going to be a big number 1, and that's still a different name because it has the number in it.
Yeah, that's why it's different, but each of your episodes is definitely a very large number 2. But let's look at your number 3 episode.
Yes, play it. You'll see.
All right.
Everybody, episode 3 of the number 2 Perfect Podcast. That's right. Had a couple of problems with the last place I was at, but check out the new studio. It's the White House, and that is somewhere that Keith SALTOJANES could never make a studio in. So that's why I am here. And you know what? Not only do I have Bob Iger back to interview in person. Oh yeah, not again. Not again. Ah! Pretty good show. That is a solid episode. And that was a pretty cool, that was a solid built building too.
You had you had a podcast in the White House and then it blew up?
I mean, it was like a little bit of a fluke. It doesn't often happen. It happened to have been, I think like an anniversary of like a 4th of July. So I think there was like a small random like alien thing happening.
I don't like how like you're just stealing the name of my show, and then you somehow got into the White House to host a show, which is impressive.
I was in the market for like a solidly built building.
Yeah,
and they had a deal. It was a Groupon deal.
It's on Groupon, and it
Groupon I was able to rent and set up shop.
That's pretty good for Groupon.
Yeah.
I have an ad here for Groupon. Let me pull it up. Groupon, need a studio host your podcast? We got you covered. We got historical buildings all around the United States. Not liable for explosions. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there.
The last part, I should have clued me in a little bit.
I mean, I am upset that you are stealing my name, but I gotta give you credit for tenacity. You know, you had different locations and you got to go in the White House, which is, I mean, it blew up. I hope everyone in there, all of the staff, the chief of staff, the president, vice president, everyone went to the big Band-Aid store and it was okay.
Yeah, there's like a really big one in DC, like a really big one.
Oh,
so
the big
we all went there.
Store.
It was great. We all laughed it off. It was pretty great.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's impressive. It's impressive. That you did that. I mean, I'm just in the studio, and you know, you are stealing my name, calling it the number 2 Perfect Podcast Show, and mine is the Perfect Podcast Show. But I mean, I'm kind of impressed that you tried to do that. I'm trying to make a perfect show, and you're like changing locations, and you're getting cuts. Like you have at least 3 cuts on you, and that's pretty impressive.
I have 3 little cuts, yes.
Wow, it's yeah, I don't it feels like, I mean, this, maybe we should work together, because like seems like I'm trying to make the perfect podcast show, and like I feel bad that you're in that home or building, that building you're in now, and I think maybe if we work together, like, you know, my experience of hosting a perfect podcast show and your tenacity and drive to host a perfect podcast show, maybe we can both together, you have the number 2 Perfect Podcast Show and I have the Perfect Podcast Show. Maybe we can actually make the number 1 Perfect Podcast Show.
I would love that. Are you serious? You're not making jokes? This is real?
No, I'm serious. Like I'm impressed by how much work you put into your show. And also by us working together, then you don't have to just steal my name of a show. So,
well, that's fair.
Yeah,
I would love that.
I think, you know, we're almost out of time, but maybe like you come on this show again and we can just discuss like working together, collaboration. I got huge ideas. We're gonna have a great show. I love it. Yeah.
I want to come back so bad.
Yeah, well, I'll have you on again on the Perfect Podcast Show, and really, I mean, I'm impressed. Like anyone who wants to make their own show, that's impressive. So I'll have you on again, and we can discuss a collaboration, working together, and I'm excited for this. Actually,
me too. This is great. I did not expect this reaction from you. I just wanted you to be jealous, but this is even better.
That's great. Yeah. So all right. Yeah. We'll Justin will get in touch with you. My tech guy will get in touch with you, and after he's done being yelled at by me for all the technical stuff he's done, but he'll get in touch with you, and we'll have you on. Thanks for coming on this episode, awesome. And
thanks, Keith. This is so great.
It's just and it just shows, like, if you have an idea even if it's stealing someone else's idea, you can do it your own way, and then